Hello guys, first of all I welcome you all to this interview question series, and we are seeing some of the important interview question related to the advanced Excel, and we already completed the 8th set of it and we are in the set 9 right now. Okay, so let's get started with the today's sessions we have. So first question for the today's session is explain the difference between the sum if and sum ifs function in Excel. So it is a pretty frequent question we have. Let's just get into it right now. So sum if function calculates the sum based on single condition, whereas sum if function calculates the sum based on multiple condition. So what exactly this condition means? Let me just go into my workbook I have right now. So here I have some data is there. So product ID is there, something like order ID. Then we have their segment, the region on which they sold, the categories they have and subcategories they have, and some continuous value information, something like sales quantity and profit. So right now we all know that if I just wanted to do the sum, I have a sum function is there, we return the singular value based on the whatever the arrays of values you are provided. The thing is that if I have some condition, right, let's suppose I have some condition where I have to compute the sum of sale based on one particular region, then I can go with respect to the sum if function, right? Let me just do that. So right now I have a region is there, and based on that region value I wanted to compute the sum of profit or total profit. For that purpose we can employ the sum if function. So there are two versions of it. Let me just go with the first version right now. Equals to sum if, right, then range. So we have to select the range where the criteria resides. So criteria resides in the region column I have right now. So in order to select the entire range, control shift down, right, control backspace, then criteria. So this is the criteria I have in the cell K2, right, and then we have something like a sum range, what I wanted to sum. So I wanted to sum something like profit, control shift down again, control backspace, right, and let me just enter the stuff. So these are the sum of the profit when it comes to a region south. Thing is that let's suppose I have multiple criterias are there. How can I do that? If I have a multiple criterias are there, then how can I compute the sum? For that I have another function is there which is called sum if, which can take a multiple criterias. So right now I also want a region. With respect to the region I have a south is there and subcategory phones is there. So if those both conditions are true, then only I have to compute the total profit. So how can I do that? So for that purpose let me just employ the sum if function, sum ifs function, sum range, what I wanted to sum. So I wanted to sum the profit. Let's just select entire cell right now, entire cell content, then criteria range 1 where the criteria range 1 resides, criteria 1 resides. So this is the region I have, control shift down, control backspace, right, and then criteria 1 is something like south I have, right. Again criteria range 2 where criteria range 2 resides, something like subcategory, right, select those stuff, control shift down again, control backspace, criteria 2 is something like this one, and let me just freeze those calculations. This is how we can just compute with respect to the multiple criterias. I guess it's clear for all of you guys. Something like what is the difference between the sum if and sum ifs function? Sum if will take a single condition and sum ifs will take the multiple conditions. So let's just move forward with the other questions I have for now. So the next question we have for the day is something like explain the difference between the count n and count blank function in Excel. So if you are appearing for the interview, this question might get asked to you. Let me just go into the Excel workbook I have right now. Okay, I have some small data is there, and before I just jump into the data set I have, let me just take an overall lookup of how count and count blank function differs. First of all, counts only take a numerical value in the range. So basically count and count blank only used for counting the stuff, right, counting the stuff. We want to count how many things are there into the cell, then we can just employ the count functions. But there are some variants are there, something like count is there, count A is there, and count blank is there. So specifically talking about the count function, it will only account the numerical values, right. When it comes to count A, it counts all non-empty cells, both number and text. It will ignore the empty cells and count blank specifically designed for the purpose of counting the blank cells. Clear guys, right? Let me just directly jump into the workbook I have so that you guys can get the understanding of how this function will work. Right now I have a order date is there, right? Order date is there. So if I just employ the count function here, let me just select the range I have some range right now. Okay, so I have some range. What do you think the output will be, right? So the output will be something like what? So is it numerical values? No, it is a date values. So should return 0, yes or no? Okay, let me just enter. I am getting something like this one. Okay, it's a date. So first of all, let me just convert this thing into the general, and I am getting 10. I am getting 10. So how the 10 value will appear here? First of all, so the thing is that date internally consists of a number, internally represented as a number. So whenever I wanted to just check what is the if I just take the date, any date, let me just take. So we can just take any random date, 19-10-2020, right? If I just say take this date, and if I just change the data type to the general, I can get this kind of number. This is an internal representation of date. That's why count is able to make the count of these values. Clear? Let me just again go here right now, and let me just fill it on the right hand side. I am getting 0 because all the text values are there. Let me just fill it down on the customer name, Control R. Again I am getting 0. What do you think about the quantity column? Let me just Control R, and I am getting 10 again. So this is how the count will work. So it will only compute the numerical columns only. Clear? How count A will work? Let me just employ the count A. Right now let me just select the whatever region I have. Right, let me just change the data type quickly, and I am getting 10 already. Clear? So right now I am getting 10. Let me just fill it on the right hand side, Control R. I am getting 10 as well because count A will account for all the things except blank. What do you think about the customer name? 10 again. What do you think about the quantity? 10 again. So this is how the count A function will work. So next function is something like count blank. We have count blank, right? So this is the count blank function, and in the count blank function it will only account for the absence of a data or blank values. Right now if I just wanted to employ those stuff, let me just quickly go here, and right now let me just change the thing because I have converted this entire column type to the date. Just convert this into the number I have. I am getting 1 right now. Okay, because one blank value is there. What do you think about the second one? Again 1 is there. Second 1 is there, and again 1 is there because it has only one blank values. This is how count A and count blank function will work when you wanted to employ the counting stuff. Clear guys? So I guess it's clear for all of you guys. Let me just move forward with the other question I have for the day. So the final question we have for the day is something like explain the difference between the if and if error function in Excel. Okay, so if is a logical function, it will check one logical test, right? And depending on the result of that logical test, whether it is a true or false, it will return some values. Whereas if error function is a error handling stuff, right? So if any calculation error will occur, then those will be handled and return an alternate values. So let me just directly jump into the workbook I have right now. Okay, so this is the workbook I have right now with me. Okay, so let's suppose I have a data is there where I have a category is there, subcategory is there, right? And some continuous value information, something like sales, quantity and discount. Okay, and let me just take one scenario where I have to compute something like a total sales. How can I compute the total sales, guys? Okay, total sales. I wanted to compute the total sales right now. So in order to compute the total sales, I have to multiply the whatever sales quantity I have and number of quantity it will sold. I am getting the total sales. I also wanted to incorporate the discount. Okay, so what it means that, so if it is the any discount is given, right, in this case 0.2%, 0.2 or 0.45 discount is there, I also have to multiply those things, right? So I have to also multiply those things. So how can I do that? First of all, if I just directly employ those stuff, right, if I just directly employ those stuff, means what, equals to whatever sales I have, then multiplied by whatever the quantity I have, multiplied by, and in bracket 1 minus the discount, 1 minus discount, and let me just press enter here, and I am getting all those things back. Clear? So this is how we can just compute the total sales right now. So here we can employ the if error functions as well, or we can say that we can utilize the if functions. So we can just take the criteria. Okay, so let me just check what are the values are there in the column. So I guess the maximum value is something like 12,000, 1,28,000, right? 1,28,000 values are there maximum. So I need to create the total sales category, right? And let me just employ the conditional stuff. If something like whatever the value we have is greater than 15,000, right? If it is the case, then it returns something like high, and if it is not, then return something like low. Clear? And let me just press enter here, and I am getting all those results back right now. Okay, so if I just inspect all of the stuffs, I am getting high and low both the values. This is how if function will work. If error work in the similar way, right? If you are doing some calculations and you are expected to see something like any errorless values, let me just take one example. Let me just take one example where I have to divide the sales by quantity to get the per unit price calculations. Okay, let me just take the per unit price calculations. Per unit price. Okay, let me just take the per unit price calculations here. So right now, if I just wanted to do the per unit calculations, so equals to, so whatever the sales I have making divided by the quantity, Okay, the formula is correct. Let me just try to enter the stuff, right? Enter the stuff. So these are the values I am getting right now. Let's suppose in a way, if for certain product there are some zero quantities I have sold, something like this one, right? And I am just pressing enter here. So I am getting the error here, right? So I am getting error something like division by 0. So if I wanted to handle those kind of stuffs, then again we just go for the if error functions. How can I do that? So let me just go into the sale I have right now with me, and I just employ the if error, right? If error function, and in that if error functions I have to do some calculations. If error will occur, then assign something like sales, right? Assign something like whatever the value you have into the sales. Let me just press enter here, and this is how we can just handle those stuff as well. This is how we can just handle the stuff. So if error and if functions works in a quite similar manner, but in case of if, we can utilize to make the criterias based on some logical conditions, and in case of if error, we will employ those functions to handle the error. There are many error handling functions are there, something like if error is there, if NA is there, we can employ depending on the situation. Clear, guys? So these are all questions we have for the session, right? Keep practice all of the stuffs, and we are meet in the next sessions with the more interview questions related to the advanced Excel. Till then, have a nice day.